I'm at the bank making money, making moves. Machines with tools and drills, making grooves. Missions impossible.
What is up, investors? Welcome back to In the Green with Charlie Seidels. Today, my guest is Invstr super user Jeff Rhodes. Jeff has been very successful on the app and a mentor to many new users. He gives the story of his investing career and his thoughts on the current state of the market. Here is our conversation. Hello, today my guest is Jeff Rhodes. How are you doing today, Jeff?
I'm doing good, Charlie. How are you?
I'm very good. Where are you from, Jeff?
I have been living in the Minneapolis area in Minnesota for over 50 years.
And what do you do for a living?
I work for a logistics company that works for a large medical supply company.
And what was your first experience in your entire life with investing?
Probably when I had a money market account at one of my previous jobs many years ago. It's probably in my 20s. And I was able to self-direct what mutual funds I wanted it to go into, and I just picked a couple. And I kind of liked it. You know, I thought I did a pretty decent job because I'd watch it and compare it to my friends on where they put theirs, and we'd kind of see who was doing better. So my first experience with real investing would have been probably about 2011. A friend of mine and myself put about $3,000 each into a brokerage account, and we thought we could just start buying stocks and making a ton of money. So we're thinking, you know, the greed end of it. And 6 months later, we were 50% of our money was gone. So didn't work out like we planned. But
And then how did you find Invstr?
I kind of found it by accident because my phone updated with my stocks app that I was using to follow the stocks I follow. And I didn't like the new setup on it. So I went in to see if I could find a better app, and I found Invstr. And I thought, well, this sounds kind of like fun, fantasy league investing. I can practice and everything. And that was about a year ago. It caught on real quick. I got addicted real quick to it.
So you've been really successful on the app. What has been your strategy since you started using it?
Well, early on, we were able to take advantage of the pre-market. So that was something that everybody did. And that's how my value of my account on Invstr got so high. But just, you know, following other people and trying to figure out new stocks that I didn't know about was a big thing, because a lot of people from all over the world talk about them.
How have you seen yourself grow as an investor in the year you've been on the app?
Well, like I said, just following a lot of people from around the world and learning other things. A lot of it has been, I never did a lot of day trading. And in one of the private leagues I'm in, they talk about doing day trades. And so I tried a few, and I was actually successful on most of them, not all of them, but, you know, and basically just how to, you know, read more technicals. There's some people that talk about technicals a lot. Kevin Barnes is one of them. And so I've gotten more into the Bollinger Bands and the support and resistance and momentum levels and support levels and all that stuff.
Could you go into a little bit more depth about what you've learned about technicals and what they are for people who maybe don't know as well?
A technical support level would be something where a stock maybe is sold off a bit, but then at a certain point, people start buying it because it gets cheap enough, and that would be a support level. Resistance levels would be a level where people would start selling at a certain level. Those are important because if you know what those levels are, and a lot of times they're moving averages, which is like a 10-day average or a 20-day or a 50-day, even a 200-day moving average of where the stock was for the last several weeks. And other technicals are Bollinger Bands, and that tends to indicate when a stock is oversold or overbought. I don't do so much with the relative strength because that's been kind of out the window with a lot of stocks will have a lot of relative strength for, you think, basically no reason. So.
And what is relative strength? Could you break that down for people who maybe don't know what that means?
Well, there's probably some other people that could probably answer it a little better, but when a stock is doing really well compared to others in its sector or in the market, it has a higher relative strength level. That's the way I understand it. That may not be 100% correct.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for explaining that.
Sure.
My next question is, where do you see the market going over the course of the next few months to basically until the end of the year?
Well, with the government stimulus and everything, I see the market continue to rise. There's always going to be corrections. We've recently seen some big run-ups over that last, a couple of weeks to a month. And there's always going to be a pullback because some people are going to say, okay, time to take some profits on this. And it'll pull back 5, 10, even maybe as much as 20% in over anywhere from a few days to maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks, or it'll go sideways a bit and consolidate. Some of the government stimulus that's coming in is basically guaranteeing that the market will continue to rise. And I think it's also adding a lot of strength to commodities like gold and silver, because it's devaluing the dollar. And that's where, and it will eventually cause inflation. We haven't seen a lot of inflation, but, and that'll help gold and silver and other commodities also.
And now moving on to talk more specifically about the Invstr platform, what has been your favorite thing about the app?
Just the other people basically, and what I can learn from them, because I thought I knew a little bit about investing, and I did know a little, but I thought I knew a lot more. And once you get into talking to a lot of these people and discussing certain details, you realize you don't know half of what you thought you knew.
If you were talking to a first-time Invstr user, what would you tell them is the number one piece of advice you'd give them?
Oh, probably that the market looks forward. It's not looking at the current situation, and that's been very evident during the COVID crisis and the shutdowns and the damage it's done to a lot of the profits of a lot of these companies. And the market doesn't see what you see. The market looks to the future, and right now the market sees a bright future because there's a lot of stocks that are beating their earnings of what was predicted, although they were padded down to be less, lower. It's beating those. And just to, if you have a bias toward one thing or another, try not to let that interfere with what the market is telling you, and try to follow the good stocks, the ones that have a pattern of going up continuously. Look at longer charts, and just don't get greedy. Greed and fear are the your worst enemy in the stock market.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on today.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
Making money, making moves, machines with tools and drills, making grooves, missions impossible.
I am not a financial advisor, and my comments should never be taken as financial advice. Investments come with risk, so always do your research and analysis beforehand.